All right, Homer, you there, buddy? What's going
Yeah,
on?
buddy. How are you doing?
All right. Hey,
How you
man, we
doing,
just want to
Sean?
say welcome to everybody to the show. Guitars, okay, right? Doing all right.
Yeah,
No, how you doing, Homer?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, buddy. So, how do you like this little streaming platform? Welcome to the 21st century.
I know it's weird.
For those,
No, it's
those
good.
who
It's
watching,
good.
Homer's out in another part of Tulsa, so he set up his cool room there, man. You got some cool guitars behind you there, Homer.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, man. I've got guitars everywhere in here, really.
I know it's a cool room. We'll have to just do an episode of the room at another
Yeah,
point and just go around and stuff and have you like plug them once we get everything straightened out. But
yeah.
tonight, let's just dig into what we were talking about earlier before we started the show, and that was you and I grew up with these things right here, man.
Cassettes.
Cassette tapes.
Yep,
So these things are from, if I remember my history, about 1958 into 1963 was the first development of them.
yep.
And I'm trying to think, it was, I can't think of the company right now offhand. Somebody can leave a comment, but they
Yeah.
were trying to reach out to Sony, Philips. I think it was Philips.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep, and they were reaching out to Sony. They were trying to get Sony into them, and then they started working on all different models. And there's one particular fellow that actually designed, gets credit for most of the design, but really by then it was teamwork. And as we know, this is the final product that you and I were so used to, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember the transition from records into cassettes, right, from the 70s
Yeah.
to the 80s.
Okay. What was the other thing that there was? The
I had,
big blocky things.
oh, 8 eight
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah, 8 tracks. Okay, where were they in the chronological order of things?
So you got records, 8 tracks, and then cassettes.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember my
So
mom had that, and she always listened to Barry Manilow and Daryl Hall and John Oates on those things in the LTD.
awesome. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Now we're talking back in the 70s and stuff.
yeah, yeah. We've like we skipped completely past 8 tracks because uh, albums made a comeback. What, I don't know, how long ago was that? Maybe 5 years to a decade ago that people
Yeah,
started
the
buying
albums.
records and stuff again. And
Mhm.
then
When I was in Nashville, they have full record stores again now. Just when
that's
I was there.
crazy. That's good, man. That's good. Because then
Yeah,
you
but
actually,
here's the thing. These are coming back at the
yeah,
moment, Homer.
that's
So what
crazy.
I'm going to talk so this just brings back a lot of memories. So everybody out there that remembers these things, right? We had the this is a Guns N' Roses, man, right? And you
Yeah,
had like cool pictures in there, and you
liner
had
notes.
like notes of like all this cool stuff that we used to read in there,
Yeah, they had
man. And
some. Do you remember they had artwork on there that got banned because it was
yeah,
like too explicit?
I think this is
So,
one of them.
yeah,
Oh, okay, put that. So anyways, but here's the thing is, so cassettes came around. So I was doing chores back in like 10 years old, 12-year-old era, like
mhm.
1984-ish, somewhere around there. And I was doing chores and making money. And my first cassette was Journey Escape.
Oh yeah,
Not a bad cassette to start off.
no, no,
Not
definitely not a bad one.
a
I'm trying to remember. Okay, honestly, I believe my first cassette was right around that same time frame, and it was Michael Jackson Thriller.
Oh, wow. There's a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah.
Holy
I think that was my first cassette that I had. I remember my first rock cassette I ever bought was Bon Jovi "Slippery When Wet."
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow, that's a good one.
yeah.
All right. So, what was your favorite song on mine for Journey for the Journey cassette? I was enamored with Stone in Love.
Mm,
Remember that song, right?
yeah, yeah. I don't know if I do.
Yeah, that was
Let
the
me
second song. It
pop a
was
little
like they
clip in
started off.
the deal so people can hear the song if they don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and yeah, Stone in Love was huge. So what it was is like back in the day, as those of you that remember cassettes and CDs and all that, we'd put in the first song on the album was supposed to be like the big one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't Stop Believing. And then like the second one was always like a little like probably an upbeat song. So Stone in Love. And the third one was Who's Crying Now?
Yeah.
Right. And then it kind of progressed along to Open Arms, and then you had to flip the cassette over. And then we had what we used to call the B-side. The B-side.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
And the B-side had like throwaway songs or like songs that the band was just trying out. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
But
so
some of the B-side songs were good though, man. They really
fantastic.
were. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I missed with the streaming thing is everybody gets the big songs, and then they really a lot of people, I don't know, like comment on this. Do you give like the B-side type songs chances from the artists that are out now, or do those songs just get overlooked?
That's my point. Is back the one of the good things about cassettes, and we'll come back to your Michael Jackson thing in a second. But one of the good things about cassettes and CDs back then is you would put them in and hang out like we're hanging out right now.
Yeah.
And you would basically just let the thing play, you know, and we'd be hanging out with our Rubik's Cube and our Commodore 64 and our Ataris and all that stuff, and just plugging along on these games and whatever scenario we're in, right? And you would hear the whole album, and sometimes you get hooked on these other songs. In my opinion, they're still better to this day. So so what was your thing for the Michael Jackson? I mean, what was Thriller?
I was just looking at the set lit or the album, and you know everybody loved Thriller and Beat It and Billie Jean, but honestly, I think my favorite one might have been either Human Nature.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's that one, but I really liked the duet with Paul McCartney too. It was just kind of cool. But then
was
you
it
have like
or Ebony and Ivory? Which one was it?
The Girl Is Mine.
Oh, The Girl Is Mine. Oh, duh. Yeah.
That one.
That's right.
And then you also have I Want to Be Starting Something. That was a good song too. But yeah, I would say Human Nature overall out of all those.
Some of the songs that were put out to be number one, like Thriller and Don't Stop Believing, you know, I mean, we kind of got to cram down our throat because radio was king back then, right?
Yeah, and you had to listen to what was on the radio. You know, do you remember the first pirating days? And you would have a dual tape deck, and then you'd sit there and wait for the song to come on, and then you push record.
And then you'd get a copy of your buddy's like album, right? And it would be slightly less. It'd have a little degradation to it. So it wasn't quite as loud. And then if you somebody copied your copy, it was another pay grade lower. And it got worse, right?
Right. I remember all that. But those were good. Okay, the other thing I remember about audio cassettes was that was the formative years of me playing guitar. I started playing in like 87 or 88. Nice. And so CDs weren't huge yet. And I remember I literally went through probably 3 Metallica Black cassettes because I kept trying to learn these guitar parts, and I would sit there and pause and rewind and then pause and rewind. And then the stinking thing, the tape would get stuck in the mechanism, and then you pull it out. So, but that was what I remember a lot about.
I mean, like this, right? The tape would come out.
Oh yeah,
the tape would
and
come
then
out.
You just then the tool is you just stick your pencil or pen in there and just wind it right back up.
Yeah, but we'll just wind it right back in.
Yep. Yeah, I remember those days, man. I remember those days.
So there's a resurgence right now, as I'm saying. You know, we've got the record companies, you know, or the records out again, the albums, and that's got its strengths, but there's and weaknesses. And now there's cassette tapes coming back out. And I was telling you earlier, I saw there was this multi-cassette, you know, rack system component where you put multi-cassettes in it, just like you did multiple CDs, and then it loads in, and then with the big remote and everything, you know, it's a Pioneer system, I think. I saw it on Instagram today.
I just wonder because like
because we didn't have that when we were younger.
No,
I didn't know. No,
we
that was
didn't.
no. We had cassette. That was about it.
Yeah, like you had the boombox or you had the Walkman, you know, and then car stereo. You know, those were the main things.
There were rack systems. I mean, my family had a record player rack system from Radio Shack,
Yeah,
and some friends we had them compact rack systems. They look like racks, and they're really just one box with dual
yeah.
cassette and a record player on top with little tiny speakers that separated. And I'm thinking, so the benefits to cassette to me is that they're durable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of durable, and
Just
they're
don't
kind of
keep
small.
rewinding them over and over again.
Don't leave them in the sun, like
Yeah, I remember that too.
And then the other thing is you had the benefit of listening to the whole album. So you start at one, you go to the next, and then you also have the artwork. So the artwork, is artwork even relevant nowadays? What do you think, Homer? Do you think artwork, if you were to record a new album, would you go find some cool artwork right now, or would you not?
I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
honestly, if you're releasing an album, if it's in album form, yeah, I think you gotta have artwork with it. At least something recognizable. I mean, yeah, okay, back to like the Metallica. It was literally just a black, and then there was like this weird thing in the corner. I think it was actually like this corner of the picture. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. It was like a little gray thing, but you could barely see it. So yeah, and then like obviously the White Album.
Now going back to older stuff though, so like you got your Journey on cassette tape and stuff. I had all my Journeys. I had my LA music like Rat and Poison and Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually I joined the Columbia House, right?
Yep, I remember those.
You get all the stuff in the mail, and you get the cassettes in the mail. And I was ordering like Prince. Man, Prince was a great album. If you remember that one, the Revolution, was it? Yeah, Prince and the Revolution or something. And it was like Purple Rain, the album. Like oh my God,
Purple Rain was great, man. It's a great one. I got that actually on picture disc.
Yeah, that's cool. And then I had like Bryan Adams and stuff too, because I was living up by the Canadian border, so Bryan Adams was big. So I had Bryan Adams cassettes and everything too. So the cassette players were interesting in the fact that you could. One thing that I know musicians used to like, I don't know if you had it, but you could slow down the speed on like your headphones, what do you call Walkman.
Yeah, I remember that. And you could speed it down or speed it up, or was that albums you could speed them up?
No, you could speed it up too. At least mine did. My Sony Walkman, and then you could. I was trying to figure out guitar parts, right? They'd slow it down. They'd slow it down a little bit, and next thing it's like, hey, like you could hear it a lot better. You hear the guitar parts, but I don't know if there's a benefit to actually going back to cassette tapes. I don't really feel like I'd be buying any. Would you?
Well, probably. Honestly, I got to be honest. Probably not. It's really difficult because most of the stuff that I wind up listening to that I actually really, really like is all stuff that I grew up with almost. Like, it's weird. You kind of get to this age where you still listen to new stuff, but, they're writing about young stuff. And, but it's kind of a weird, or at least with me that happened. I wound up just going back and listening to like old Zakk Wylde stuff and Joe Satriani. Like I'm listening to him. Oh yeah. Just the other day, and yeah, I just go back and listen to stuff like that. And some of the musicality is, to me, the musicality was a little more intricate. Songwriting, especially back in like the Hendrix days, the songwriting, there wasn't like the cookie cutter 1-4-5, maybe play a 6, and your verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, bridge, back to the chorus, and you're out. Like everything wasn't just that, like they had different ideas and I don't know, more flexibility. I feel like, they weren't worried about writing something to get on the radio. They were more just expressing themselves, a lot of them. And there's the difference. Yeah, there's some of that now still, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know. Or what do you think? Do you think that now there's some of those?
We came from the age of rock. So we came from the age of rock, and rock was king, and
Mhm.
radio was king. Then MTV became king,
Yeah.
and there was different push on how bands had to like do things. As you were just alluding to the progression from the 70s into the 80s, 60s, 70s, right? All your China Groves and all your Hendrix stuff and your ELOs and anything, Chuck Mangione to whatever, but and James Taylor to all that. But and then you get into the 80s and you get into Huey Lewis and the News and Journey and Toto and Survivor and Metallica hits the scene. And it's almost like the 80s, in my opinion, are like a more proficient. That decade of decadence and the age of rock, as they call it, was more proficient with the Joe Satriani's, like all the pedals and the different amps and the recording, the way they could do it. And next thing you know, you got guys like Mutt Lange and then putting out albums with like Def Leppard and that, and it's like blowing your mind away because you got like overlay guitars and you've got Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai with White Snake. You got Steve Vai with David Lee Roth. You got Eddie on the scene. I mean, it was like the 90s hit, and then all of a sudden Nirvana hits, and it changed everything. But going back to cassette tapes, we used to hear all the like the big rock scenes, right? Like Slash and right. So let me ask you this though, based on that, there's something going on now compared to back then. Bringing up parallel on what you're talking about, and that's called putting things on the grid.
Yeah.
There's something like drum beats. So drum beats drive me crazy with new music, even rock music.
Yeah.
And it's on, if they zoom in that Pro Tools or whatever, and they just drop it right on that perfect beat. Well, humans playing like all our old cassettes. I mean, Boston. I mean, Guns N' Roses. If you were to put up a beat meter to it, you'll see that they vary during the songs. I mean, the drummers, they vary a quarter, an eighth, and 16th. They vary here and there during the song. And then like the guitar guy is playing with the drums because guitars are technically like a rhythm instrument because of the way you have to strum and everything. So playing with the drums, the guitars are responding to the drums in a good band. But now tell me what you think about putting everything on the grid. And to me, I can like almost spot it like instantly if it's like a new music, even if it's rock music, and it's on the grid and it just sounds different to me. So what do you think about that?
Okay, my thought is, okay, once the click track was invented, it started to it didn't ruin music, but it didn't help it as much as what some people would think. Because now everything's very rigid, and when you are rigid on the meter, and some people would disagree with this, but if you're really rigid on the meter, it limits some ideas that you could have. Like the drums taking a little bit longer to build and not really being on beat and stuff like that. And it takes some of those ideas away from it, I feel. And
it takes away the human aspect, in my opinion.
Right. And we're not perfect. And we don't need perfect like that. Art is never perfect. So
yeah, well, look at Ringo Starr, man. Like, what would he have done right now if he was a brand new drummer? He was always like behind the beat kind of or something. He was always felt like lagging, but he wasn't. And it was like that's gone and like newer styles. And so I agree with you. I think like going back to the days of like the cassette style where these rock and roll bands were coming out and the recordings, I think cassettes were interesting because they were able to capture enough quality to make it sound good. It was compact, it was durable, it was halfway decent listening to. We were able to skip around a little bit. We could record portably with them, but I just don't see any. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think I'm in Columbia House.
No. It's think about how much money. Okay, think about this, because most streaming platforms are what, 14 to, I don't even know what they are, 14 to 17.99 a month, right?
12, 14,
that's like the cost of like probably nowadays money. I'll bet you cassettes will probably be about $12.
You're right. I forgot. Like, go back to that chore money. So I had to like save my money and go to a pharmacy and pick out the Journey cassette. And that's you're bringing up an interesting point because that's where cassette tapes, the blank ones, changed everything, blew my mind because we couldn't all afford to get all the albums.
Right.
So my buddies and I would actually plan it out. Remember when release dates were a thing, and we'd go to the mall, and I'd be like telling my friend Jim, I'm still friends with Zip. I'd be like, Zippy, like you get the Judas Priest album, I'll get the Motley Crue album, and then we'll buy some blanks.
Yep.
We'll buy some blanks. Yeah.
And then we got them. But so no matter what, humans are always going to figure out a way to try to get, what they want. And not because, okay, like when I would do that, when I would share with my friends, I'd looked at it as a positive. I was sharing, and I wasn't thinking about that. The band's not getting the royalty money off of the other album, But
you couldn't afford all the albums. You couldn't afford all the albums.
We were on budget.
Or you just couldn't afford it. I think you brought up the breaking point. Is one of my friends a detective back in Buffalo, and he was in New York City, and he always told me, Mac, he's like, follow the money. Yeah. And that was the thing right now I think you're bringing up is the money issue. Have you seen the price of the vinyl right now? $30, $50 album? Like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. Dude, that's the issue.
I think the thing with the cassette tapes too that was interesting was you used to be able to stack them all, remember?
Oh yeah.
So having a physical, remember going to somebody's house and they had the huge rack of like cassette tapes, right? Yeah. Remember? And you used to organize them, right? You'd have like metal over here, rock over here, air supplies down here.
I was crazy. I put all mine in alphabetical order. I think I've always
you did alphabetical order.
Yes. And so like when I went and got like, like Metallica.
For me,
I have to slide everything down. It's like
somebody's gonna laugh at this because I forgot about that. For me, it was like genres, man. I had to have genres and then alphabetical in the genre.
Oh yeah. But I was like, I would have Stevie Ray Vaughan mixed next to Stryper, whatever. So anyway, and actually I should have put him in the V's because it's Vaughn, but I remember I put him in the S's. I think Stevie, man, he was great.
It'd be like, where do you put REO Speedwagon or Steve Vai? Do you put him in S or the V?
Vai's got to be in V. I don't know. I can't remember if I actually did it correct or not, but now I would. If it becomes a thing, it's going to be under V's.
So here's what I'm getting to. Our last point in the episode tonight is sometimes having something physical, right, to touch and to hold is pretty neat because like you'd literally, how many times did you go to somebody's house? I remember being married even, cassettes are still around in the 90s. Maybe it was a couple, it was my wife's friend and her husband. So I go there and I'm like, I don't really know the guy. So I'm like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, all right, whatever. And I'm like, oh, look, you got a whole bunch of cassette tapes. Oh, I got like 675 cassette tapes.
Right.
So guess what I'm doing for an hour?
Looking through the cassette tapes. It starts conversations.
And then you open it up and you're like, hey, you got this band? And then you look through it and you're like, wow, dude, did you know that I didn't really realize on this album that Paul Rogers wrote most of these songs, man? And then it's like, you know what I mean? You can start talking. So anyway, sometimes having a physical, and the point I want to make with that is in guitar playing, since we're Guitars Oklahoma, there's been a big push for amps and pedals again. And to me, like cassettes kind of bring back that nostalgia compared to streaming because you do have something physical to hold and look at. You know what I mean? There is that. So
that. Yeah. I do prefer having something physical, and I know that it's not really going along with modern day thought process for sure. Because it seems like most of the kids, or the young, sub 25s. I don't know. Comment on there. Tell me what you like, because
we'd love to hear.
I'm under the impression that having something physical isn't really as important, and you got to think they weren't really raised with like that. It's most people were raised now with streaming.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's true. And Homer, tell everybody, like, you're teaching like younger kids and stuff right now, aren't you? Right?
Oh, yeah,
aren't you
yeah.
Like, it's not like we're just like these old guys. get off our lawn. You know, I mean,
Right.
like I have a 13-year-old right now. I still have a 13-year-old. I have a, you know, that's in the music scene, as you know, has been playing and rocks
Oh
out
yeah.
and all that stuff. So I'm listening to what they listen to. I don't even, and I think you're similar to me. I can't speak for you, but I will listen to like new stuff. I will actually listen to it. I was listening to Drake the other day, giving it a shot. I was listening to, you know, some other guys. I just know Corey Wong's newer and guitar and stuff, and you know, I give them a shot. But anyways, tell everybody like what age groups and stuff have you been like teaching lately?
Oh, down to like 9 years old. Actually, yeah, about 9 years old. Up to I believe he's 21. My 21-year-old student, he listens to more like singer-songwriter kind of folksy stuff.
Really?
And yeah, he'll show me his playlist, and it's I don't know, it's pretty cool. He likes a lot of different artists that are just good, but it's very singer-songwriter type stuff. And then like my youngest student, they surprised me. Actually, it's not my youngest student. My youngest student's really 7 right now.
Oh, holy cow!
Yeah, and she's learning.
Cool.
She's learning on bass. I need to get a video of it and post it. She's learning "No One Knows" by Queens of the Stone Age.
Wow.
On bass. It's so cute. She's probably like, you know, this tall, and she's rocking out on this like doing that action. And it's so
Great.
funny. It's so cute.
See,
Yeah, no, I don't think that having something, and I could be wrong. I don't know. They may want something physical that you can, you know, hold and look through and everything. Who knows?
it's like sports aren't going away. I mean, look
No,
at our.
sure.
I'm sitting in Owasso, and my son's in the band program. He's getting ready to go to school band. We were 6th in the nation about a year ago, and Broken Arrow, you're saying, was 1st in the nation. And like, and, you know, they're out there with 6,000 seats in a Friday Night Lights scenario down here with jumbotrons for the high school, and so like that's a physical thing. So it's not totally going away. So there's the key as we wrap up this episode. I think having a physical thing can be really cool, right?
Yeah.
I think so. The problem with all this, going back to it though, is the money issue, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
If you could go to flea markets and get these for 25 cents and 50 cents a piece, like tons of them right now, if you could, and you could go get yourself a decent rack system, Techniques, whatever the new brand is.
Yeah.
I had Techniques back in the day. And Sony's still around, Panasonic, whatever. But if you can put in a little rack system for maybe a decent one for $200 or something, and you could get these for 50 cents, $1 or something, maybe there's a chance. The problem is we see the retro trend coming back, and they're upping these. These could be coming out at $25 a piece.
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
For that. All right. While we head out, think of something real quick. Think of an 80s riff. Grab that guitar right there and give us something. What do you think, man? Could be a Guns N' Roses. Could be a Guns N' Roses riff or something.
Well, there's always this is a Strat, so it's gonna sound weird, but there's always that one.
Go for it. Go for it. Let's play it out, man. Everybody, let's hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell. Come on, man. We'll play it out. I love it. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Homer, stay on the line. We'll wrap things up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.